I'm Charlie Valera, and it is a great honor today to introduce my guest, Charlie Sanderson. Charlie, thank you for being here.
Oh, I'm happy to be here.
Muchly appreciated. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit. You know, you and I have talked before about all your different war efforts, as well as your life before World War II and after. So we're just going to kind of go over that a little bit again.
Okay.
And let's start with, were you born in this country? Where were you born?
I was born in Shirley, Massachusetts.
When?
1925.
1925, so that makes you 92?
92 and a half. I have to go by the halves now because time's getting shorter for me.
Okay, when's your birthday?
March the 19th.
Great. Did you go to school in Shirley?
Yes, I did.
How far did you get?
I finished the 8th grade.
Okay. Ship you may have been on?
Yes, I do. I went over on the Aquitania, and we used to compare that ship with the Queen Mary. The Queen Mary had one more stack than the Aquitania, so you couldn't hardly tell, you know, how big they were.
Was there a lot of people on the ship together?
Oh yes, a lot of people. Yeah, there must have been. I wouldn't dare say how many, but there was enough people on board the Aquitania that when we sighted land over in Scotland, because we landed in Scotland, when we sighted land, everybody went to that side of the ship. And the ship started to lean, they told us go back to our quarters. So that's a lot of people to tip a big ship like that, you know.
Wow.
Everybody wanted to see land.
How long did it take you to get there?
No, that's a hard question. I think it was 7 days, but they didn't go straight. They had to zigzag because of the, they were concerned about submarines shooting the ships, so they zigzagged all the time across the ocean.
And what year would that have been?
That would have been 43, I think.
So the war in 1943 was pretty well underway, and the outcome was far from determined at that point, right? It was still pretty...
When I went over, they hadn't started the invasion. When I crossed the English Channel on the LST, they were 1 mile inland. That's 1 mile is not very far.
No. So when you say you crossed the channel in the LST, you're talking about Omaha Beach. When you went to Omaha Beach?
Yes, we landed on Omaha Beach.
And you went there in an LST?
Yes.
How big was that?
The LST? It was fairly good size. I don't remember how much equipment. There wasn't much big equipment behind my truck. My truck was the first one to be unloaded, and there wasn't too much stuff behind it. I can't remember how many people were aboard, but I think it carried our truck and probably a prime mover. Our guns were not on the same LSTs. That would have been too much to carry on one LST, I believe. You know, I was only 18. I didn't get involved in that stuff too much. I didn't care. You know, there's a war going on, and you get all excited about, you know, going into combat. You don't have much else on your mind.
So, what was the? How long was that boat ride, the LST ride?
Well,
do you remember?
I can't tell you that for sure. I know we left at night, and we slept on the decks of the ship. So it was at night. So I don't know how long it took.
And you got there in the morning?
We got there in the morning, yeah.
And what happened? We discussed this. What happened in the LST?
Well, we pulled into dock, and there were other LSTs off to the side of it. When we pulled into dock, the minute we got into dock, they lowered the gate down, so it's a ramp so that you could drive off. And our trucks were all waterproofed with the gas tank and the breather pipes and everything above the windshield, so you could actually drive them underwater. But I had one problem, I couldn't swim. So I was very concerned about driving underwater. And when they told me, my truck being the first to be unloaded, Sanderson, go ahead. So I take a long stick and I get down on the end of the ramp and I put the stick down and I said, I can't touch bottom. And that stick is about 10 feet long. I know that if I go off the end of the ramp, I'm just gonna tip up over in. Move it, get it going. Well, I couldn't go because I'm scared to death that I can't gonna go in the water with my truck and it tips over and I can't swim, I'm all done. So finally somebody else come down, put the stick down, and they decided we can't go. Now we're sitting ducks for aircraft and stuff like that. We have to stay there until the tide comes back in again to let us go out. So you would come in with the tide. So we sat there until the tide came in and we backed out and we come in again. So that's 2 times that we entered that beach.
How long did you have to stay sitting ducks?
I think it was something like 2 hours.
Unbelievable. What was going on around you during those 2 hours?
What was that?
What was going on around you during that 2-hour period of time?
Well, mostly it was the planes overhead going and bombing and stuff like that. Occasional planes strafing. Just a lot of noise.
I bet. And an occasional strafing. So then, eventually you get on shore. And now this is right after your basic training, right? That's when this occurred?
Yeah.
Okay, so now you get on shore in France. You're on Omaha Beach. That was probably a week after the initial invasion.
Yeah.
And what was that like?
Well, the first thing we did, we went into a marshaling, a de-waterproofing area. I had to take all the cosmoline and wax stuff that's under the dash and over your gas tank and your breathers, tighten up your fan belt and all that sort of thing. And then after that, we went into gun position. We fired on St. Lo, St. Mary Glees. That was at the beginning. That was I think you'll see in your book is the St. Lo breakthrough, they called it. That was the start of it, you know. Mm-hmm. From there on, it was just keep moving and keep shelling.
Keep pushing forward, huh?
Right, and being heavy artillery, most people would think, because our artillery was with 240 Howitzers, they would shoot 20 miles. And people would think you'd stay way in the back, but that's not so. We would move up as close to the front lines as we could and dig our gun into position, and then we could stay there for as long as it took to move forward. As the line progressed forward, we could continue to fire until, gave us more time, more distance. So we would move right up toward the front lines.
And it was okay to be able to shoot it, say, 5 miles away or 3 miles away, even though you had a 20-mile capacity. How did you do that? Did you regulate it by the amount of gunpowder that you put in? Or did it always have to shoot?
We had forward observers that would tell us where the targets were, so we never knew that. We never knew where our targets were because always a forward observer would call in and give us the quadrants to our target. I have seen the time that we put our gun into position, and I can look up on the hill and see the Germans get up in the morning and shake their blankets out.
That's pretty close.
That's close. I have laid out for a gun position because I carried the equipment that was needed to lay out the position for the gun. A big tarpaulin with eyelets in it, and we'd set that on the ground and put iron stakes in it and get it all laid out for the rest of the outfit when they come in to dig the holes for the gun, because you had to have recoil pits to hold the gun from sliding backwards. And I would be my truck and a couple other men would be the first ones up there to lay that out. And I remember one time we were laying that on the ground, and there was a house right nearby, and saw them with the white flags in the window. And I actually went over to that house to get a drink of water, and the Germans were there. The infantry hadn't come through yet. And when the infantry came through that particular spot, they had a tank, and they were walking along sides of the tank, and they said, "What are you guys doing here?" They said, "This is no man's land, hadn't been taken yet." So sometimes we got up pretty close to the front.
Yeah, the no man's land is between the Axis and Allied,
yes,
basically.
that's no man's land, yeah. I have seen the German tanks line up on the hill and thought they were our tanks. They were so close. I thought they were our tanks until they started firing on us. I got laid out for that. You never do that, they told me.
Why
Captain
not?
said, never do that. Because he said that's what they're shooting at. But I
Right.
couldn't lay down out in the middle of the field.
Did you have to dig foxholes?
No, well, a few times we did, but not too much. Not too much. We didn't have time.
Because you're always moving forward?
Well, busy, you know. Always, well, not necessarily, you know, you might be in position for 3 or 4 days,